Hi everyone, we're here at the Bradford City of Climate Culture Climate Emergency Garden, and we are now at about the halfway point of the year of our climate actions for the year of City of Culture. So we wanted to do a little recap and talk a bit about all of the amazing people we've had here at the Climate Garden so far. This action has turned into a bit of an archive of Bradford people who care, who may be activists, poets, musicians, organisers, members of groups and combinations of all of the above. We've continued to make a commitment and a statement by being here every week to show up for the fight against the climate crisis and the fight for a livable future. And we've been really lucky to be able to speak to and thank the Bradford people who have been taking action and trying to make change. Our first guest at our launch was the Bradford poet Sharina Lee Satie. Sharina provided such a special sense of ceremony with her poems for our launch. They focused on love of nature, the value of people working together, and her final poem expressed sorrow and love for the people of Palestine who are suffering genocide at the moment. We can have no climate justice on occupied land. Next week we were joined by Professor Paul Rogers of Bradford Uni, Professor of Peace Studies, who talked about the connection between the climate crisis and military action. He left us with a message of hope, which was to keep going and that you never know the impact you might be making with the actions that you take and the conversations that you have. Next was Unite Community, who spoke about energy prices, cost of living and the need for a just transition of jobs to the clean energy industry, not a repeat of the cruelty of the closure of the coal mines. A just transition is possible and essential for a green future. The following week we had Bradford United Against Austerity come to speak, and they talked about how the climate crisis is connected to austerity and the political choice to use austerity to keep people depleted and exhausted and not taking action. Bradford United Against Austerity worked to fight against spending cuts and council tax rises as part of the overall fight against poverty. We have enough money and resources for us all. The choice is how all of that is shared out. CND came next week, who obviously are dedicated for a long time in the fight against nuclear weaponry, and the person who came from CND Yorkshire to speak about their work talked about the devastating environmental impacts of a nuclear weapon detonation. CND have long fought for a peaceful, livable future and continue to do so right here in Bradford. The week after that, Ludi Simpson from us, BD25 Climate, came to speak about the fact that it was VE Day at that week and reflected on the different ways VE Day has come to be celebrated and talked about, and whether the militaristic and kind of nationalistic tones of those celebrations really reflect the horrors of war and the impacts of it. And we also looked back at the Bradford Liberation Festival that took place here in 1985, looking back at Bradford's history of action and the work that it's always done towards an equal society. The week after that was Echo Machine 1, which was an amazing afternoon of music in the early summer sunshine. Jimmy from Echo Machine 1 plays post-punk space rock, getting crucial messages of resistance and challenging the system out there in the form of art and music. Then we had Manny from Galba, who gave insight into what it takes to challenge a huge corporation, which is the Leeds Bradford Airport, their group action against Leeds Bradford Airport. We heard about the ups and downs of the fight against the expansion of Leeds Bradford Airport, and we were encouraged to hear that Galba continues to have success fighting against that expansion, even though the fight isn't over and is still ongoing. Next week, Karim Aref spoke about how the climate crisis affects Egypt and the people living in Egypt, and the struggles that people living there have in engaging in any form of activism or protest and the suppression that they're facing. He left us with information that we can share on how people can help and support activists in Egypt who are trying to take action and being persecuted for doing so. Next week we had Esther from Climate Declares Emergency, who shared her personal declaration of commitment to taking climate action and her commitment to having hope. This turned into a conversation with the garden attendees that week about how we're feeling sharing the worry and the grief of the climate crisis, and it was a really good chance for activists to support each other. Then the week after that we had Paul McHugh from ourselves from Bradford 25 Climate talking about people's assemblies and why people feel disempowered and fed up with politics at the moment, and how people's assemblies can be a way of changing that. And we shared information on the Shipley People's Assembly, which is coming up on the 28th of June, that is this Saturday, at 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock at the Shipley Kergate Centre. So it'll be amazing to see you there. Come and join us for a free lunch, and we look forward to more amazing guests at the Climate Emergency Garden.
Hey!